What's up, everybody? Just finished watching the Superfly 2 card, and so they did swap the fights from what I saw earlier. At first, I saw somewhere where it was either that they were going to show 4 fights, or that the opening bout was going to be the Artem Dalakian fight versus Brian Valoria for the WBA flyweight title. So that was a flyweight bout, not a superfly bout. But I guess in keeping with the theme, they took that one off the card. And I heard Dalakian gave Valoria the business, and he won the fight. He outboxed him. All 3 scorecards were 118-109. I hear Valoria was busted up. Let's see if I can try to catch it. But as one-sided as everyone agreed it was, maybe I won't watch it. I don't know. There's a video. I think I'll leave it below. Brian Valoria is a likable guy, and but I don't think anybody's jump rope game is on the level of Brian Valoria. I'm gonna try to find. I think it was like a 4-minute video out there where he starts out jumping and kind of doing maybe a trick or two, and you like watching like, well, and right when you're ready to say, I've seen all his tricks, then he just starts going bananas with it. I think they slow the tape down just to show you what you missed. They kind of rewind it and show it in slow motion. I mean, it's incredible. But so this kid, Dalakian, he moved to 16 wins, 0 losses, 11 knockouts. Valoria dropped to 38 wins, 6 losses, 22 knockouts. Valoria came in very excited. He had his son with him. He wanted to see. He wanted his son to see him become a world champion, but it didn't work out. And I kind of sensed something, and I spoke about it, him being a little older. I didn't know Valoria was 37 though, and in the flyweight class, like 31, 32 is old. 37 is ancient. That would be like adding another 5 years to Gennady Golovkin at middleweight. I mean, that's like, it's ancient. So Valoria will have to see what he's going to do. Yeah. I mean, it's decision time for him, so we'll see. In the opening bout, Donnie Nietes, we figured he would outclass Juan Carlos Reveco, and he did. It started out as I guess a chess match. It was kind of tactical in the beginning, and but in the 6th round, toward the end, Nietes hit Reveco with a big right hand counter. Now, it was very late, and they showed the replay, but when they showed the replay in slow motion, they didn't show if the punch was thrown at the bell, after the bell. I thought it was at the bell, but I haven't seen a replay of it. But Reveco was gone and went back to the corner. And in New York, not in between rounds, they let you sit on the stool, and then when the bell rings, they say, "Hold on, okay, take 2 steps to the left, 2 steps to the right. Now shake it all about, do the hokey pokey." But and then they tell you to come forward, and they probably should have done something similar. Even though I'm not a fan of that practice in New York, as far as when they do it, they didn't. But so he came out, and then Nietes caught him with a nice uppercut, and that, I mean, that was pretty much it. It probably should have been it beforehand. Then when he got up, the referee was like, "All right, come to me." And dude's like, "I'm cool." Like, "I don't understand what you're saying, but I'm telling you I'm cool." He's like, "No, come to me." He's like, "Yeah, I'm cool. See, I'm all right." "No, come toward me." And he's like, "I'm good. I'm good. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm good." So, but they made the right call. You can't dispute that. In the previous video, we just talked about not knowing where Carlos Cuadras was, and McWilliams Arroyo, man, he came out, he let it all hang out, and what do you know, he got himself an upset victory. So he's a player now in the division. He always was, but it was like, okay, he's that guy that's going to push you a bit, but you can get him. Well, I tell you what, after being off for a while and having a few fights just canceled as he tried to get back into the ring and not having backup opponents or whatever the case may be, he came out and he kind of showed people what the sport is really about. He was hungry, and his hard work paid off as he pulled off the upset over Carlos Cuadras. I'm not going to blame. How can you say something without really saying it? It seems that every time Abel Sanchez grabs on to a guy not named Golovkin and not named Gassiev, sometimes it just doesn't work out. Now, I'll give him this. A lot of times, it's he got him late. They got into one camp, and then the guy comes in. You see how much better Sully Barrera got, Sully B, Sullivan Barrera, after he left Abel Sanchez. And as I stated, I'm not knocking Sanchez, but Sanchez has 2 world-class guys that arguably, well, Gassiev should be in the top 10 if he beats Usyk, and Golovkin is top 3 guy. So once you start taking on more guys, I mean, there could be a multitude of reasons, but I don't know. And see, with Cuadras moving forward, it's like, okay, are you gonna go to your 3rd or 4th or 5th trainer in the past X amount of fights? I mean, he's got some soul searching to do. Very good fighter, but I don't know. I thought the fight was closer than 98, 92. Maybe even closer than 97, 93, but I think that Arroyo won the fight for sure. They gave it to the right guy, so I don't know. Cuadras looked shaky especially in some early rounds. And I don't know. It's Quadras looked good for a couple of fights in a row, and then he kind of didn't really train. I'm hearing for his last fight where he didn't look. It arguably lost that one too in at Madison. No. I'm sorry. I think that was the fight before the last fight in Madison Square Garden on the Golovkin-Jacobs undercard. He was fortunate then. So I don't know. Kid got some soul searches. And then in the main event, Sarasic saw Rungvisai won a close decision over Juan Francisco Estrada. I wish I could have been ringside, because I think this is one of those fights where the ringside people probably, every ringside person not named Harold Letterman probably had it close. I would like it, man. If you hear from anybody or see any, go to any websites, I haven't, maybe I should have did that before this. If you go to any websites and people covered it live, like some people will start their article and say such and such reporting ringside. See if they had the fight close, like a draw, or maybe like a 15-13 score or a 14-14 draw. Because it's close, I mean, I don't mind that Rungvisai held on to his title. He landed some good power shots. However, when you look at, I think the broadcast team, or maybe it wasn't the broadcast team. No, I like the way Max Kellerman called it when we got to about the 9th or 10th round. He was like, "I'm sorry, Harold, but this is a 1-point fight." And I agreed with that when Harold had my man up on maybe 5, 6 rounds. I stopped. I kind of mentally checked out with Harold. But look at the corner of the right eye of Rungvisai, and then look at how swollen during the post-fight interview his face was on the left side below his eye. I mean, not just the eye, but the face was just puffed up badly. So when you talk about power shots landed, and don't get me wrong, Rungvisai landed some shots with force, but the accuracy of Estrada, I think, carried him. He was 6 percentage points higher than Rungvisai. And don't give me the argument that I always made that, well, he threw whatever 150 less punches, so odds are that he's more accurate. Because when you look at the numbers from the first Chocolatito fight with Rungvisai, and Chocolatito threw way more punches and landed way more punches, and at the higher percentage, then that it didn't apply there. So ordinarily, that's why I say there's no way Chocolatito lost that first fight, because it went against everything that it just went against common theory or common sense. Like, how did you throw that many more and land that many more and land at 44%? Unreal. And then you lose. I thought it was a good fight. Something was wrong with Estrada's footing. After every flurry, he's falling backwards as if he's tripping over Rungvisai's feet, or he's slipping on that Tecate. Just something just didn't seem right footwork wise. And he fixed it a little bit when he decided to become the aggressor in a certain rounds. May have started too late. But I think that the majority of ringside, especially the ones that have it close, they were the ones who gave Estrada rounds 1 and 2. Definitely he won round 2. The argument comes with round 1. Who did you give it to? I gave Estrada rounds 1 and 2. I think I gave him, it was either 6 or 7. I definitely gave him 8, 9, and was it 11 and 12? Definitely 12. I don't know, but I wouldn't have had a problem with the draw. I wouldn't have had a problem 15-13 either way. But that 17-11 score and that 16-12 that Letterman had, and that 17-11 that the one judge, I think his name was, what was it? It wasn't the lady. The lady from North Carolina, she gave it to, she gave it 15-13. And then, Morrow, I think his name was. And then, what's the other guy's name? Probably the most popular, well, not probably, definitely the most popular of the 3 judges. Damn, who was it? Can't recall his name, but he had it 14-14. And Moretti. Dave 116-112. Mayweather. Moretti. So, yeah. Moretti had it 14-14. The lady had it 15-13, and the guy, I think his name was Marlon, had it 17-11. Not sure what he was watching, but good fight. It's one of those. Hey, when we do Superfly 3 later this year, I think it's in August, November. I can't remember, but it's gonna be this year. Maybe we can see a rematch. You get in trouble when you do it. I think Max said, well, maybe not right away. See, that's the problem with boxing. Yes, right away. When you look at the hotly contested fight between Keith Thurman Jr. and Sean Porter, and at the end of the fight, 8,000 out of the 10,000 fans there are booing, believing that Porter won. What do? Well, if you're smart, bring him back and let him fight again. Give him a few months off, let him heal, and then put him in camp, and then fight 5 months later, or what have you. I mean, if it was a real brutal fight, 5 months is cool. They never did it, and then they were like, well, we'll do it, and Porter, you have to win this fight, and he won. You have to win this fight, and he won again. Well, now you have to win this thing against Berto or whoever it was, and then you're definitely in. And now it's like you're out, or you might be in. So no, fight him again. One I'm gonna go mess around and lose, and then you won't have it, or it'll lose its luster. So, and speaking of that, there was a pause in my prior video, the one I did right before the Deontay Wilder Louis Ortiz conference call. So check that out. I paused for a while because it was something I was trying to remember and I forgot. Maybe I need to just start putting notes down. Like, don't forget this, don't forget that. Speaking of Sean Porter, I thought that when he stepped into the ring after Danny Garcia fought, I thought that was classless. And I tell you why. When Danny Garcia was fighting and they knew they were going to set up a Keith Thurman fight if he won that fight in Philly at Temple University, Leah Corus Center. I was there. Keith Thurman was the special guest commentator. So you already knew it was going to be a setup, and then you bring him into the ring and what have you. And listen, man, when other guys jump in other people's interviews, post-fight interviews to set up a fight, a lot of times it's staged and sometimes it's not. But here's the thing. Sean Porter's a good, very well-spoken young man, a Christian young man, a guy who he'll like almost never give a prediction. If you walk up to Sean and say, Sean, who's gonna win between such and such and such and such and such? Oh, I think it's gonna be a good fight. Like that's not what I asked you, dude. I mean, rarely will he give a prediction. Check out some of the interviews online. Unless it's like a 95% chance that a guy's gonna win. Maybe he'll give it, but a lot of times he'll just be like. And I think a lot of times he might do that because it goes against his faith and his belief. It's like gambling without, like, I'm giving you a pick. Like, I'm not losing any money, but it still qualifies to him as gambling. So when I say it was classless, it's because he is who he is. The disposition that he usually displays, the well-spoken person that he is, it doesn't fit his character. And it's like, why are we doing this? It's almost it's the equivalent of clickbait, because you've been whining for 3 fights that they're trying to screw you on this Thurman thing, and it's like you're the mandatory, but now it's like, man, come on. Well, then why jump in the ring with Danny Garcia, who doesn't have a belt right now? And then why step out of character like that? So I think he's been programmed. I don't think it was his father's call either. I think it's higher. It's from higher up. So I just, that kind of turned me off, because it's Sean stepping out of character. It's like Dick Grayson running the show and Bruce Wayne being the sidekick saying, "Holy bat!" It's like, come on, man, stay in your lane, Robin. You have value, but I'm Batman. You got it. So we got, but some good fights, and so my hot streak kind of stops here, because I thought Estrada in the second half of that fight was going to take over, and while he took over in a few rounds, I thought the takeover was going to happen after the 4th. I was like, if he don't get dropped and hurt badly or whatever after 4, he's going to get into his groove. And then he kind of got into his groove and then kind of got out of it, and I'm like, dude. But I thought he won after the 4th. I thought he won maybe 5 of the 7 rounds. Am I saying that right? If I gave him the first 2, I just think in the middle rounds, okay, I believe he lost the 3rd and maybe the 4th. See, I didn't score it I didn't write it down. But I thought he would take over and sweep. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like one of those type deals. And but there were probably a couple of rounds in between that he let Rungvisai off the hook. And you can't do that, especially if at the end of the day, when they raise your opponent's hand and they say "and still," that means prior to the fight, he was the champion. And even though I don't play by those rules, like, oh, you got to knock a champion out, you got to do it. I don't play by those rules. Boxing does. And he didn't get it done. And so he could hang his head. He should be kicking himself right now. The instructions I heard from the corner were like, look, go get him. We thought you were up. What did they say? We thought you were up, but they're saying you're down, which means somebody was ear hustling, listening to the broadcast team. But they shouldn't have had a "we thought you were up" mentality anyway. It's like, go get this guy. And Andre Ward, who I don't care for at all, spoke about taking chances, but I don't necessarily agree with that. But what I did agree with is get inside and go to work. I think he felt something early from Rungvisai, and it kind of made him hesitant about getting caught with something big, but he has nobody to kick but himself. Because, listen, if you're going to blow me out in a true 117, 111 fight, if you're going to truly blow me out, alright, well, you were the better man. But boy, it's painful when you hear 15-13, 14-14. Like, when you hear that you lost, that means you do a little bit more on one person's card, and we got a split draw. I mean, you do a little bit more, and then on one person's card, it's a draw. And then on the other person's card, you win by a point. So it's a split draw. So, he doesn't have any excuse. He had the crowd rallying behind him. So, it'll be interesting. Inoue, boy, I'd love to see him fight Rungvisai, but Inoue's moved up. So he'd probably fight Tete or somebody like that. But I certainly would like to see a rematch here with that. Wouldn't be shocked if Rungvisai fought McWilliams or Arroyo. And then Estrada. They both win. But we'll see. So coming up next, man, I said I might do it Sunday, but I don't know. I might be doing it Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm going to give the Deontay Wilder versus Louis Ortiz prediction. Jamal Charlo's off the card, so he'll be back in April to fight Hugo Centeno Jr. And that probably works because that'll be in late June. Excuse me, late April, and then a week or two later, it's either April 12th or 21st. I don't know. I don't have the calendar in front of me, but either 1 or 2 weeks later, you'll have GGG versus Canelo rematch, and then maybe Charlo can, talk some smack. I want the winner of next week's fight, and maybe he'll even show up. I don't think he'll show up for the fight because of that PBC guy not wanting to show his face on HBO type of thing. Like, you don't see Broner going to a Canelo versus Golovkin fight. You don't see any of the premier guys going. And then on the flip side, you don't see any of the top rank or golden boy guys going to the premier cards. So maybe we can get out of that. Maybe somebody will break the trend. I mean, Eddie Hearn, he's broken a few trends with because now Daniel Jacobs and Baby Miller, they fight on HBO now. So, and they were kind of in that Heyman PBC mode. So now, as Heyman is taking a step back and getting in his lane as an advisor or a manager, and then letting these guys kind of branch out to show enough promoters, Eddie Hearn is going to start this UK invasion. I got a couple of theories on what he may do. Maybe I'll talk about it after the Deontay Wilder prediction in that same video. But when you think PBC, you think, and East Coast, you think Barclays Center. When you think Top Rank or K2 or Golden Boy on the East Coast, you think Madison Square Garden. Well, when they kept saying Daniel Jacobs, who's now with Eddie Hearn, with Heyman being still the advisor or whatever he wants to call himself. I actually spoke to Al Heyman I don't know if I ever told anybody yet. I actually spoke to him for a couple of minutes. So, I mean, I've heard the man talk. And I got him to talk. And I should have cut the microphone on my mobile phone. I wasn't thinking at the time because I didn't know that he was like that fucking anal or whatever about just not saying a word or what have you. But anyway, it was at the Apollo Theater of all places for Mayweather versus Cotto's press tour. And I walked up to him and I said, "Hey Al, let me ask you a question." He was like, "What's up?" I was like, somebody told me, now this was back in 2010 or whenever Cotto, I don't remember Cotto, Fort Mayweather Jr., but 08, 9, 10, I don't know. 11, 12. I said, this guy told me that this guy named Michael Ferguson, who set me up, told me that Al Heyman would pay money to anyone who could find a picture of him on the internet. So I'm showing him this picture, and he was like, he looked at me kind of funny. He said, "Nah," he was like, "I never said that." I was like, "All right." Now the thing about it is, Mike, he's not a guy who's gonna make things up like that. And to this day, I'm like, dude, why'd you have me play myself like that? And then we chatted for a few more seconds, and then that was that. But so I guess that puts me in that 2% of the world that has heard the man talk. And then there's only one known interview on the internet. If you just type his name in, like Al Heyman interview, and I think it was done in Washington D.C. Some cat asked him maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 questions, but it's not him talking now. It's just the transcript of the interview. But boy, you know what? I'm gonna look that guy up and ask him, hey, did you ever save the audio of that? Because man, that's some exclusive stuff right there. But anyway, I've talked too long, way too long, so I'm gonna end this. But so we'll do the Wilder and Ortiz or Ortez, because it was Ortez all the way until about 2000 when Victor decided to say his name was Victor Ortiz. I'm like, all through elementary school was Ortez with everybody. So Louis Ortiz, Deontay Wilder, I'll do the prediction. I'm going to add a Bivol versus Barrera and Kovalev or Kovalev, and can't do the Charlo one. So I'll see who else is on the oh man, the return of the great Prince Charles Martin. If you haven't seen the videos, there are about 4 of them that Prince Charles Martin did maybe a few months after he lost to AJ, to Anthony Joshua. I mean, it's like Prince Charles Martin lost his mind. I think he got, what, $5 million for that AJ fight? Now he's probably fighting with about 20,000, 25,000 on these undercards, but hey, he got his check. But if you can find it, and if I find it, I'll leave it below. But that guy, I mean, I thought he lost his mind. When you see these interviews, it's like, dude, who slipped what into your last drink? But anyway, All right. So that's the Superfly 2 card. And congratulations to Nietes, to the Lakian, to Arroyo, and to Rungvisai. We'll catch you in the next one.
The dudes have envied him for so long. Oh, Superfly.